Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Identity Insights by Indicio. I'm your host, Tim Spring, and today I'm joined by Indicio software engineer Alex Walker, and she's here to discuss Indicio's Mediator. Thank you for joining me today, Alex. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, once again, I'm a software engineer from Indicio, and in fact, I gave this whole spiel probably, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago regarding the associates program. And I like to tinker around with technology and explore languages in my free time.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, happy to have you back. So in your own words, would you be able to tell us a little bit about what Indicio's Mediator is?
So Indicio's mediator is like a traditional Akapai mediator, and you can think of it as a sense where you can think of it as a mailbox. If I want to issue something to someone, the issuer can put it like the credential, you can think of it as in the mailbox and where the holder can come pick it up. It is like a middleman, and that can be abstracted in the sense that you don't need to have one mailbox, it could go through 10 during that scenario.
All right, very cool. So what is the difference between, say, Indicio's Mediator and what's been used in the past? Is there a common mediator?
So a mediator in general is generally stemmed from a Akapai agent. And I would say that that's no different here, except for Indicio's mediator has some special technology behind it that allows us to scale more widely to a larger number of users.
All right, and what kind of drove us to make our own special mediator like this, right? Were we seeing a lot of bottlenecks? What was kind of the problem here?
So internally, it's been known for a while now that mediation has been the largest performance bottleneck, which is what has driven us to have a product in the works, and it's actually been in the works for a long time. So
All right, and then what are the results of the project? Was it successful? How much, better mediation can it do?
okay, so I think if you don't mind, I think some more motivation or context might help. Since this isn't, yes, kind of telling the story of this. Initially, with one mediator and one Akapai agent, so like a traditional mediator, using pretty much the smallest viable setup, we can issue 258 credentials per minute to new connections, issue 540 credentials per minute to existing connections, and verify 280 credentials per minute to existing connections. So all using mediation, and assuming these VMs are pretty small, using 2 virtual CPUs and 8 gigs of RAM. Using a clustered environment, we with the same traditional mediator as before, but now 10 Akapai agents, we can sustainably issue 300 credentials per minute to new connections, issue 900 credentials per minute to existing connections, and verify 600 credentials per minute to existing connections using a traditional mediator. But really, at this rate, the mediator is completely maxed out at this point, assuming you're using the same one as before. And so to get any performance increases, the mediator would need to increase in size, which can be costly. Thus, to save on costs, we turn to Indicio's mediator, which once again has been in the works since it's been known mediation would be a performance bottleneck. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to Colton Wilkins and Micah Peltier for all of their hard work on it. But using the same clustered environments, Indicio can sustainably issue 1,200 credentials per minute to new connections, sustainably issue 1,680 credentials per minute to existing connections, and sustainably verify 3,000 credentials per minute to existing connections, all using Indicio's mediator. So that's a big performance jump.
Absolutely. So sorry, you threw out a lot of numbers there. Is that essentially, it sounded to me like about a 4 times more efficient
Yeah.
process? Is that about it?
Yeah, and I would say on a lot of these, we're limited on, we only use 10 Akapai agents. So
Okay, so you could scale it further. You would need more Akapai agents. Is that kind of the
yeah.
thing?
And there is evidence that these are minimum baseline numbers. So it's very exciting right now.
All right, very cool. So right, obviously you threw out a lot of credentials being issued and a lot of verifiers and all that things happening. Would you be able to put that into kind of a real world scenario for me?
Yeah, I think probably the most one that comes to mind is like an airport, although you're not probably going to have millions of people exiting a single airplane at once, but you could have certainly a bunch. So regarding the implications, this allows businesses and individuals to be confident in the performance capabilities of Akapai, so particularly at larger scales. So I mean, within an hour, we're talking about, for example, like 180,000 verifications happening. So that's like 180,000 passengers going through an airport, verifying their passport as they're going through the day. So that's awesome.
So you mentioned, right, that this has kind of been in the works for a while. Is it ready now, or can people try it for themselves? What are kind of the next steps with this?
So it's still in the works, and it's for internal use only at the moment. So we're still currently testing internally, but we'll make a public version available soon, as well as open source the code once we're confident in its performance.
All right, sounds good. Well, it looks like that is about our time for today. I appreciate you joining me. If you at home are interested in learning more about verifiable credential technology, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to bring you some more educational content. And if you have any questions or specific topics, please go ahead and leave a comment below. I'll be sure to read and address them. Thank you again to you, Alex. If someone's interested in learning a bit more about maybe mediator technology or this mediator in particular, where would you suggest they look?
Yeah, so SocketDoc is an early release that's related to Indicio's Mediator, and that's already out within the Hyperledger community. However, if you're more interested in learning how or like what exactly mediation does, or why it's special, or how exactly it enables communication, for example, with mobile devices that don't have consistent IPs, Indicio did an awesome presentation like 2 years ago titled "Introduction to the Newly Open Source Mediator Agent," which is a really great introduction, and should be available on this channel. But if you're waiting on news in particular for Indicio's Mediator, a beta release will be out soon.